Talk about being bloodthirsty.
I know, Grandma. I know, but you know how stories always try to lead us astray. You never know. Chapter 5. The first animal I ever heard speak was a black and white guinea pig named Mrs. Pancake. I love that name. She lived in a large blue cage at the daycare Mom took me to while she worked at a hospital at Fort Benning, Georgia. I fed Mrs. Pancake my unwanted goldfish crackers and stale pretzel rods. Keep 'em coming, kid. Keep 'em coming, Mrs. Pancake said, rocking back and forth and rubbing her swollen, furry belly. The first time the guinea pig spoke to me, I thought I was just imagining it. I had a pretty hyperactive imagination back then, but the guinea pig looked straight at me and struck a deal. You keep me nose deep in snacks, and I'll poop on the toy hogging snot over there who keeps on biting you. So at 4 years old, I realized I could hear animals talk and immediately started a business as a toddler snack stealer. I never told my parents about it. My dad was 1,000 miles away dodging bullets and bombs. My mom's worried about my dad thousands of miles away dodging bullets and bombs. They don't need a freak kid to worry about too. Of all the animals I've talked to, though, none has ever prepared me for the sight of my abuela stomping off into the dark woods with a knife. She didn't come back to the house until after I went to bed, and I was too scared to ask her about it in the morning. I sit in science class sketching a picture of abuela fighting a zombie deer with a large wooden spoon, her purple hair flying in the wind as she jabs at the deer's glowing red eyes. Miss Humala drones on. She's still reviewing how to find density since most of the class failed her pop quiz. Her abnormally long neck juts forward each time she says, volume, volume. Maria Carmen sits just in front of me, squinting at the fluorescent lights hanging from the ceiling as she flips her braids over her shoulder. Talib leans his head on his hand next to me, playing tic-tac-toe with himself on his paper. I'm not sure how that works. To my right, I hear Brandon, the camo-wearing bully, whisper to the kid next to him. Dad and I shot a deer yesterday, big old doe. Does anybody know why something's wrong with that statement? When you hunt for deer, do you know which gender of deer you're allowed to shoot? The males or the females?
The male.
The males, you're right. And it's illegal to shoot female deer usually. I worry about the white-tailed deer I drew in the woods yesterday and decided to tell Chella. I know for a fact that deer season doesn't start for 2 weeks, so Brandon isn't just a military wannabe, he's a bad hunter too. Miss Humala claps and says, before we continue, Principal Jelani has asked all the teachers to make an announcement. Students are not to walk through the woods before or after school. Make sure you take the roads through town to get home. She narrows her eyes and scans the room. I strongly recommend that you follow Principal Jelani's instructions. We've had too many strange animal disappearances in town, and we don't know what's in the woods. So best to just stay away. The students around me start to murmur. I look at Maria Carmen. She flips the pink goat tag between her fingers and then shoves it in her pocket. Talib sighs next to me. Guess I won't figure out what happened to my dog, but I don't really want to get eaten out there either, so good call, he says. The glint from Abuela's knife flashes in my brain. At least, if no one else is supposed to be out there, they won't see her stomping around doing whatever it is she's doing. Miss Humala clears her throat and starts to divide the class between those who failed her pop quiz and those who passed. Me, Talib, and Maria Carmen. Miss Humala gives us free time while she drills the mass over volume equals density over and over again with the rest of the class. Talib points to a cabinet near Milla the chinchilla's cage, Milla the chinchilla, and whispers, she has games in there that we can play. I open the cabinet and scan the worn boxes and games, which look like they probably belong to Miss Humala's great-grandmother. Nice job on the quiz, kiddo, Milla says, scampering up her cage and diving into her hammock. But that doesn't mean you can pet me. Nope, no touching. Has anybody ever seen a chinchilla? They're really cute, like super fluffy and really spazzy. They're kind of like weird little chipmunk rabbit things. Odd little animals. I hadn't planned on it, I whisper to her. Finally, I see exactly the game I want to play with Maria and Talib, a plastic bag filled with dominoes. We push our desks together and dump the dominoes out. They clatter and several jealous eyes turn to stare at us. Maybe a little less enthusiasm, Miss Humala says, clearing her throat. Talib chuckles. I don't think she's going to be cool with us lining these up and knocking them down. I shake my head. Nope, I'm going to teach you guys actual dominoes. I slide 10 tiles to each of us and explain the rules of the game. Do any of you guys know how to play dominoes with numbers, not just like knocking them down? It's pretty fun. You try to make 15. Where did you learn to play? Maria Carmen asked, lining up her tiles in front of her so Talib and I can't see them. From my abuelo. Each time we moved somewhere new, he traveled to me. We could play dominoes in our new kitchen, I explain. I scan the dominoes and hold up a double 9 tile. This is the Caja de Muertos, the dead man's box. Talib takes the tile from me. I like that. And this is the Caja de Dientes, the box of teeth, I say, showing them a double 6 tile. Your abuelo taught you all this? Maria Carmen asked. Yeah. When I was little, I learned a new Spanish curse word every time I beat him. Does your grandpa teach you curse words? That's kind of weird, huh? In Spanish? No way. No way, says Amadi. Talib hands me the Caja de Muertos. You have to teach me those. He set up 3 of his dominoes in a line and knocks them over in a cascade. So why'd you move here? My dad grew up here. My mom and I are staying with my abuela while my dad's in Afghanistan. My mom thought it would be nice staying with family instead of on an army base. Talib nods and sets up his dominoes in a line again to tip them over. How many places have you lived? New Haven makes 6, I tell them. Never been a fighting armadillo, though. I wouldn't get your hopes up, Maria Carmen says, rolling her eyes. Our football team is so small that the same kids have to play offense and defense. They're usually so tired by the last quarter, they just lie down on the field and let the other team run over them. Talib nods and twirls a tile between his fingers. Did you always go to school on a military base? That reminds me that this weekend is Super Bowl. Amadi, do you have a favorite team? Who are you voting for?
Huh?
For the Super Bowl, who do you want to win? He's talking about football.
You
don't know?
Maybe Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, okay. Did you always go to school on a military base? Yep. What was your mascot at your last school? The parachuting penguins, the bayoneting beavers? Nope, I smile. We were the General Sherman School of Tanks and Missiles Valiant Vultures. Maria and Talib stare at me with wide eyes. Are you kidding? Yes, you've really gone to 6 schools. I've only ever lived in New Haven, Maria Carmen says. We drove up to Dallas once to visit my tia Maricela, but that's the farthest I've ever been. We went on vacation to Florida a couple of years ago, but other than that, my butt has been in New Haven, Talib says. I lay down the first tile and we start taking turns matching up the numbers on each tile. I shake my head thinking about how Maria Carmen and Talib have always been here. They've always known where their home is, always had a home. I can't even imagine what that's like. Must be nice though. Talib spins a tile between his thumb and forefinger. So where have you lived? I list all the places the Lopez family has moved. Born in Georgia, moved to Colorado, stayed there until I was in 2nd grade, moved to Washington for a little bit, then Kentucky. After that, just north of here, and finally New Haven. That's so cool, Maria Carmen says, slapping down a double 4 tile. I'd kill to travel that much. No kidding, you've seen the ocean, right? Not like just the Gulf of Mexico, but the actual ocean? Talib leans forward, scanning the tiles we've laid down, searching for a match. I picture the wide Pacific Ocean when we were stationed in Washington. The waves glistening like diamonds as the sun dipped below the horizon. I'd fall asleep right on the beach, the lullaby of the waves lapping the shore, as Mom would run her fingers through my hair. I still don't think moving is much of a good thing, but Maria Carmen and Talib are right. I have seen a lot of the country. I just haven't seen a lot of my dad. We're actually going to move on to chapter 6 because that was a really short one. Chapter 6, don't go in the dark, musty basement with creaking stairs and flickering lights. Don't answer the phone when you're home alone and the caller ID says axe murderer. Don't enter the decaying abandoned building covered in suffocating vines and bloody handprints.
And that's called movie magic.
I've seen enough horror movies to know what you are and aren't supposed to do if you want to survive. Don't walk through the woods in your town when you've seen your abuela stomp off into the trees with a knife. It's kind of a weird grandma thing to do. I guess Caleb and I aren't that smart. Huh, what's that mean they're going to do? They're going in the woods, friends. Of course. After hearing Brandon brag about shooting a deer with his dad, I wanted to check on Chayla, the doe I met yesterday. Even though Miss Humala told us to stay out of the woods, when Caleb saw me take off into the trees after school, he tagged along, saying I shouldn't go alone. As we tromped down the path, I noticed Caleb's dark eyes dart around every live oak and scan every rocky hill, searching for some unknown threat ready to devour us whole. Caleb picks up an acorn and launches it at a tree trunk. He misses by a foot. The acorn bounces down the trail ahead of us, scaring lizards and squirrels who scamper. So is your dad really strict about keeping your room neat, making your bed since he's in the military? I laugh. I have a Cuban mom and a Cuban grandma. The military is nothing compared to them when it comes to keeping a house clean. I can hear the sound of Mom's clicking tongue as she juts out her chin, pointing to the dirty clothes under my bed. Nothing makes me clean faster than her raised eyebrows. Caleb shakes his head. Sounds like my mom. How long has your dad been away? I could give him the exact number of days right now. Along with the days in New Haven page, I have a dad's been away gone page in my sketchbook. It has 104 marks. He's been downrange a little over 3 months, I tell him. Downrange? Deployed overseas. I'm not sure why I said downrange. I never liked that term. It always makes me think of a shooting range. Downrange is where the bullets land. It's where Dad is. Wanting to change the subject, I ask, are you looking for something out here? It seems like you are. Caleb stops. I was hoping to find my dog, George. Your dog's name is George? Yeah, he disappeared last week and I've been looking for him. Caleb's eyes dart to the cedar tree with the 3 long, jagged marks on it. His eyes grow wide and he draws in a sharp breath. You think your dog might be running around the woods? Well, no, not anymore, I don't think. This isn't making much sense, but Caleb doesn't seem to want to say more about George's mysterious disappearance. I continue down the trail and my stomach growls in protest. Let's keep going, man. I'm hungry, I tell Caleb. He follows me, but only after glancing at the claw-marked tree one last time. We pass the spot where I sketched Chayla yesterday, though she's nowhere to be found. I stop and scan the hills around us, noticing a glint under a mesquite bush. I hurry over and see the blade of a large kitchen knife plunged into the root of the bush. Small bits of thin white paper surround the knife. I look closer and realize it's not paper. It's snake skin. Ooh.
It's a fruit roll up.
No, it's snake skin.
No, no, we're not.
Kicking dirt over the shed skin, I stand in front of the knife as Caleb approaches. I thought we were going to keep going, he says. He pushes on my arm to urge me forward. What are you so scared of? I'm sorry your dog is gone, but what's the deal? Between the knife, the claw mark, and the snake skin, I'm beginning to suspect there's plenty to be scared of in these woods. But I don't want Caleb to think my abuela has anything to do with it. Caleb wipes his nose with the back of his hand. I went looking for George out here a couple of nights ago and I saw something. Dude, what did you see? Caleb stands there and stares at me. Well, I found George's collar by a big cactus. And when I went to pick it up, I heard growling. I thought maybe it was him, even though George doesn't really growl like that. I saw this big furry brown thing with huge teeth and claws, and it was definitely not a dog. But while I was watching it, it changed. I shake my head, unsure if I heard Caleb correctly. It what? Before he can explain, I hear a shout and a cry. Caleb opens his mouth to speak, but I'm not paying attention anymore. The cries are growing louder, echoing. Help, help. I look at Caleb. Do you hear that? What? The howling? No, somebody's calling for help. Caleb scrunches his eyebrows at me, but I take off running toward the sound. Ooh, so the one boy hears howling. The other one hears, help me, help me. Could be my friend here, huh? It's a coyote. writhing in the dirt next to a large century cactus, which is this agave. The small reddish animal tries to stand, but his back leg is caught in a large metal trap. He lets out a yelp and falls to the ground. What is it? I shake my head. It's a hunting trap. It must have snapped around the coyote's leg the second he stepped on it. Caleb winces. That doesn't seem right. It's not. Hunters use them to trap animals, sometimes predators they want off their land. An animal can stay trapped for days. They can even starve to death. Please help me, please, the coyote cries, his saliva frothing at the corner of his mouth. I run over and kneel down next to the injured animal. The coyote bares his teeth and growls, not knowing if I'm a friend or a foe. I raise my hands. It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm going to help you. You can understand me, the coyote says. Yes, I can, I tell him. Yes, you can. What? Caleb asks behind me. Remember, he can't hear the coyote talking. Nothing, I say, shaking my head, one problem at a time. What are you going to do, Nestor? Caleb asks. We need to release the trap from around his leg. Caleb examines the trap. It's a half circle of sharp metal teeth folded together. This is one of Brandon's, I'm sure of it. He and his dad aren't exactly known for their legal hunting methods. I clench my hands into fists. This Brandon kid is steadily rising on my list of people I'd like to see rocketed to the surface of Mars without a spacesuit. I keep my hands on the coyote, rubbing his fur, reassuring him that he'll be okay. Petting my coyote back there. See my little coyote? His body is warm and rises up and down as he pants. Taylor presses 2 round tabs on either end of the trap and it snaps open with a click. It's okay, buddy. You're free, I tell the coyote as he lets out a soft yelp. He tries to stand, but he falls back in the dirt. I can't walk. It hurts too much. Okay, let me carry you. Will that be all right? Behind him, me, I hear Caleb clear his throat. Nestor, are you talking to that coyote? I ignore his question. I'm not sure how I would answer it anyway. I'm not ready. Caleb seems like a good guy, but I don't want to send him screaming by revealing my secret. Picking up the coyote in my arms, I'm careful not to put pressure on his back leg. Caleb and I continue down the trail with the injured animal. I can't believe he's letting you carry him, Caleb says. I must have a way with animals. The coyote shudders in my arms. Somebody's not telling the truth, he says. Shush, I whisper, scratching behind his ear with my fingers. Caleb and I pass a thick patch of mesquite trees when we hear stomping along the trail behind us. We turn and see Brandon, his face red and his fists clenched. That coyote's mine, you thieves, he snarls, kicking dirt at us with his untied shoe. Traps are illegal in these woods, you moron, I snap back. I haven't lived in New Haven long, but Dad will always make sure I know the rules wherever we go. Brandon rushes toward me, eyes on fire. His feet skid in the dirt inches from me. He leans forward, his nose almost touching mine. His hot breath blows in my face. I smell traces of rubbery chicken fingers served from the cafeteria today. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Taylor bend down and pick up a rock. That animal should have stayed in the trap, Brandon hisses, poking me in the chest with a finger. The coyote in my arms raises his head and clamps his small, sharp, strong teeth around Brandon's finger. Brandon screams and draws his bloody index finger back, wrapping his other hand around it. He huffs and stomps away from us, shouting over his shoulder, "This isn't over!" I look at Caleb, whose fingers are still clenched tight around the rock. What were you planning to do with that? I ask. I don't know, maybe juggle to distract him? I chuckle. Come on, let's go. We head toward our houses. Caleb walks behind me, flinging his rock into the mesquite bushes. Nestor, what exactly are you planning to do with that coyote? I think for a moment, considering my options. Do you think my abuela would be okay with a new pet? I ask. Caleb laughs and slaps my back. Sure, buddy, I'll bring flowers to your funeral. You like roses or tulips? He takes off toward his house, just a block away from mine, and I keep going until I see the blue paint of abuela's house. As I walk closer, the coyote raises his head and mumbles, "Don't let her get me." I look down at his trembling body. Don't you mean him? The coyote presses into my chest, and I feel his pounding heartbeat. No, her. Don't let the witch get me. Bum, bum, bum. And that is the end of that chapter.
What is going on?
What is going on? Is Grandma a witch? I don't know.
Watch. I'm predicting he's gonna go down into the basement and he'll become a horrifying secret.
I don't know.
And then I'm gonna and then his grandma's gonna come down and say, "You're knowing too much."
You know what though? That grandma was talking to somebody in the kitchen. Don't you think probably he inherited his ability to talk to animals from somebody? I'm thinking grandma can do it too, and that she's trying to help the animals, but who knows? I have not read this book before. That is just my prediction. Any other predictions out there?
I predict that he'll go down because, like, the chapter says, "Don't go down into the basement."
Oh,
so,
yeah.
what if he's
Definitely
gonna
go
down into the basement and to uncover a horrifying secret inside of the basement?
Uh-oh. Hey,
And then probably his grandma's gonna find out he's in, and then he say, "I must destroy you. You know too much about me."
oh, he's not going to destroy his own grandma. All right, friends. That's it for today. Hunter, don't worry about it. You'll get the schedule down. If you want to hear the start of that chapter, I'll have it posted in about 20 minutes and you can go and watch it from the resources. Remember where to find that? Right on the homepage, okay? And I'll see you guys. I'll see the Heart of Reading group with Sasha and Nora added to it at 1:30, and I'll see everybody else at 2. Bye.
Bye.
If anybody has a question too, I can answer questions right now. Any math questions or anything? Nope. Okay. Bye-bye, you guys.